You're listening to Reality Derby, a Gold Derby podcast hosted by Marcus James Dixon and Denton Davidson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Reality Derby. It is February 26, 2025, and we have a very, very jam-packed show today, don't we, Denton?
We do. I mean, the Traitors, oh my God. Like, there's so much happening on that show. We have an interview with Devin Walker, who has recently kicked off the challenge. We're going to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, Deal or No Deal Island. Am I missing anything?
We're going to mention The Masked Singer. Yeah, and also Survivor 48 starts on Wednesday night, so we're going to kind of tease that. We'll talk about that more officially in next week's episode. Okay, so let's talk about the Traitors first of all, Denton. I'm kind of mad because my girl Carolyn is gone. What's your initial emotion?
Unbelievable. My initial reaction was definitely towards Danielle. First of all, congrats to her for getting rid of Carolyn, but the reaction after Carolyn's unveiling was so over the top. Like she was in horror, traumatized, shaking in the corner, crying. I mean, I have to know where she's pulling that from. Like, we have to speak to her because when
Mhm.
this comes out, like, it's just unbelievable that reaction. And it was unfortunate. I mean, all the fun people are gone. What is happening?
I know. Do you think Danielle was acting or was that like an honest emotional shaking?
What could she have an honest reaction to? I mean, how
Yeah,
could
it's kind of like a twofold. She stayed. She got a lot of votes, but she stayed. So she's happy there. And then she got out her biggest enemy. So she's happy. Maybe it's like the happiness and the sadness combined to make her like convulse.
I just don't remember her being like this at all on Big Brother. Like I'm wondering where this is coming from. Like is she like trying to step up her TV game or and get more gigs? I don't know. I find the whole thing very bizarre. It gives us something to talk about though, so whatever she's doing is working. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was sad to see Carolyn go though, and her tears as well. I think there was some acting mixed in with some real emotions, just because she saw her game slipping away from her, but she just wasn't
Yeah.
prepared.
I saw her, Carolyn, on Instagram or something say, I can't believe this is my life. I was on Survivor once and now I'm a traitor on the Traitors. Like she just feels very blessed. I think that's how she may have been feeling at the end. Like even though she lost the Traitors and she was Gold Derby's pick to win, by the way, she's still like very happy that she was able to go through this experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through my predictions and definitely pick a faithful to win. I think there's no chance in hell that Danielle is winning, and I think she made a huge, huge mistake recruiting Brittany. Even Brittany was like, Danielle wouldn't recruit me, would she? Like that would be so obvious and stupid. So I think Brittany's probably going to be pissed when that hood comes up in the next episode, and she sees Danielle sitting there, and she's going to be like, "You just effed both of us."
So at Gold Derby, we do predictions for who's going to win and things like that. And Brittany is now the number one choice.
That's never going to happen. Brittany was.
It could, it could.
It will not. Brittany was already on the radar, and I think Danielle is sort of, giving her a side like a backhanded compliment by recruiting her because she knows, oh yeah, I can say like you're my best friend, I want to do this with you, but she also knows she can get rid of Brittany and because Brittany's already on people's radar. So I think this is sort of another slick move from Danielle that isn't as completely genuine as she's portraying it to be.
What did you think of the mission this week? It was the chess pieces where the traders had to, the previous night they had to answer questions, and then those questions were then revealed in the form of chess pieces moving around the board. I kind of like this one mostly because of Kate and Parvati sitting there judging everyone, being their sassy selves. Like they saved. That was the best part of the episode.
It was. Those two were the best part of the episode. Carolyn sort of sunk herself
Mhm.
and got a little heat on her in that moment. So Danielle was a little more savvy when she was working with Carolyn to pick who people would predict. I loved watching Tom, though, just keep saying himself. Like they were spot on with that. It was
Yeah,
surprising.
Kate's like, wait, did he just name, or was it Parvati? Did he just name himself again? And then poor Sam got murdered before breakfast, and I don't think anyone has even, ta mentioned that.
I already forgot that happened. I
Yeah.
literally it was not even in my mind. He barely appeared on the season, and he didn't do anything bad.
Yeah.
He wasn't there. He was a non-factor throughout the entire game. I think he was a pretty easy, smart person to murder. But
Do you do you blame Sam or maybe the editors? Like, was there stuff that he did that they didn't show us, or is he just maybe like kind of a quiet person?
he probably spoke more than we saw. I mean, you saw people say that they did genuinely like him, and there were people that said he was a good person, but he
Mhm.
probably didn't say anything that interesting or something that the editors found worthy of TV. I mean, they cast him on the show, so they're not going to like
Yeah.
blacklist him for nothing. Like
Mhm.
they obviously like him, but if you don't do anything worth showing on TV, I mean, Ivar's the same way.
Yeah.
Clearly been a blip on the radar.
I love how they cast Sam on the same season that there is a Brittany in the castle, which was just icing on the cake. Um, oh, one other thing I wanted to mention on the Traitors. What is the seer? Next week, somebody gets this all-important power, and the episode is even called The Power of the Seer. So apparently this is going to be a huge thing. What is your guess?
I have no idea. Like, how much could they possibly see? That's going to be interesting. And I'm a little nervous because I already think they don't need any more help. I think
Yeah.
everyone knows Danielle is a traitor. Have you seen those internet rumors swirling, by the way,
No.
that Danielle secretly whispered to Brittany that she was a traitor during production? So there's like this big scandal breaking out on the internet, and everyone is coming after Danielle. And then someone said Carolyn even confirmed it, and then Carolyn had to like jump in someone's comments and be like, I did not confirm this. So
Hmm?
I always wondered that, like, what if you did just sort of mouth to someone like I'm a traitor? And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like getting juicy. There's all these scandals in the rumor mill, but I don't know if any of that's true. I would think
Hmm.
wash it or something would happen to her if that was the case, but I have no idea.
I'm guessing the seer, I mean, it's probably going to be a faithful. That's a seer, and they could see who one of the traitors is, but then maybe they're not allowed to say anything. I don't know. Like, hopefully it's not something that's too cheesy, but I guess we'll see.
Maybe they can spy on people during a certain like
Yeah.
game. Maybe they can like hear and see what's happening in every room of the house. I don't know.
So the challenge was this weekend, and who are you chatting with today?
I'm chatting with Devin Walker. He was eliminated along with Leroy, one of my favorites. I actually like both of them. Leroy is just one of my favorites because he's just such a great guy. But Devin is always ready to just spill the tea and go after people. He gives the inside scoop on Dario threatening to break his jaw. He talks about how bad Dario's breath is. I mean, he just will sort of get in there and talk trash, and we love that about him. So he's always fun to interview. So we can go ahead and let Devin do this week's recap with me on this week's The Challenge All Stars Rivals. Devin Walker sent home on the Challenge All Stars Rivals this week with his partner Leroy. You were taken up by Adam and Steve, and you were the fourth team they sent home. That's quite a warm up they got heading into this, wouldn't you say?
I've never seen anyone pull off four in a row. And if you're going to lose somebody, I guess a team that's literally breaking elimination records isn't that bad to lose to. So I'm honestly, it's a bummer to leave, but I'm happy for those guys. Their backs have been against the wall. They've been sick. They've been targeted. They've been ganged up on, and they've persevered. Only like older gentlemen can. They've been around a while, and they've just kind of built up those emotional calluses. Um, so they're killing it. Hats off to those boys.
Did it all come down to the puzzle, or was Adam just like a freakishly good barrel roller? Like, what was the deal with that?
it came down to the puzzle. We weren't that far behind. I think we were one barrel behind, but they beat us by a lot more than 30 seconds. So although it was close, it wasn't. So I got it. Like I was preparing the barrels in the correct order when the horn blew. So I still would have had to put 2 barrels in, go to the other side, and then figure out the other puzzle. So they beat us by a whole puzzle plus one.
And it was sad for you, but you're a champion. I was a little more sad for Leroy. He's 0-15 at this point. Who would his ideal partner be? Like, who would fit with his skill set to help him succeed the most, do you think?
I mean, he had it. He had it in a different game. So, if it wasn't co-ed rivals pairs, right? If it was guy pairs and girl pairs, and the girl pairs go against the girls and the guys go against the guys, right? We would have been fine because people would have looked at us and said, he's never won. And although Devin has, he still sucks. So we could have floated and played like a different style game, which at this point in Leroy's life, he's the father of 2. He's sober. His social game isn't great because in order to have a good social game, you have to be social. And he is doing a fair amount of resting and kind of just like missing his family. And that's all totally justifiable and understandable, but it doesn't lend yourself to be privy to those kind of nuanced conversations that are happening around the house if you're not in the mix. And I couldn't stand anybody, so I wasn't in the mix either. They were an absolute snorefest cast that I loathed. So I drank as many Carlsbergs as they would allow me to, and then, took a skinny dip and brought myself to bed.
Well, you get to the jungle and you find out it's rival season and you end up with Leroy. And, I don't know Leroy personally, but he seems like about the nicest guy I can think of. So how do you end up? I mean, I know the backstory, but did you feel like, okay, like, yes, it's Leroy, but I kind of lucked out. Like some people really hated each other.
Oh yeah, there was people on that stage that would have been that I had bigger rivalries with than Leroy. Um, you can't be mad at getting somebody who, even though hasn't won, true definition of the term challenge all-star is Leroy. There's no denying that. Like there's a case you can make against a lot of the people that were there. You cannot make a case against Leroy. So to be with a true deserving bona fide all-star, I was really happy, and I can't help but feel like I fumbled the bag a little bit, honestly. It's a tough pill to swallow because you look at a setup like that and you just think this has got final written all over it.
The daily challenge was trivia, and you guys have to suck down this disgusting milkshake, and you barely lose to Frank and Sam. Like the one challenge those two do well on, and then they end up sending you in. Um, is that where like you thought you were good with Sam, right?
I was good with Sam. I didn't think I was. I was. Frank, from the beginning, made her feel so small that she didn't think she had a voice. And because she felt like she had let him down in a few of the earlier challenges, she catered to whatever he wanted. And she didn't want to be holding him back. I'm putting that in quotation marks in case this is audio, physically and politically. So she just, I think, I mean, you'd have to talk to Sam about this, and I would love to hear her explanation of it, looking back at it. But I think it came from a place of not wanting to let Frank down. And I truly believe she was manipulated from the jump. And it manifested itself in turning on one of the only people that was genuinely a supporter of her, not just in the game, but in reality. I thought she was a really good person. And unfortunately, that isn't the case.
Well, I have to say, as a fan of the show, it was sort of getting old watching Adam and Steve go in every week and take out another girl team. So someone had to make a move. It was unfortunate that it was a move on you and Leroy, but I mean, don't you agree? Someone had to eventually do something to shake that up.
Yeah, so putting in the girl teams um, is interesting as a like having there be co-ed and non-co-ed um, pairs is interesting choice at to begin with. That now there are equalizers, so I do believe it to be fair. I don't know if I would say it's equal because like obviously me and Leroy are going to run faster than Katie and Veronica, but it's it seemed fair because there were puzzles and things like that in there. I understand it was boring, but I guess if I were them, I would have kept us around because we're going to win and protect you. So you get rid of one of the guy pairs, fine, but you're getting rid of one of the guy pairs that has a very. We came in first or second in every daily, and we were never going to say their name. So you have just kind of taken away a major safety point of the game and replaced that with somebody like that winning a daily that may not protect you that you don't already have a deal with. So from a math standpoint, it is not strategically the best move. Like if you're looking at this thing and you're saying to yourself, who's going to keep me the safest? If you have a deal with me and Leroy, you keep us around until the bitter end, then you take your final shot. It was way too early. We'll see how it plays out. But if I was Frank and I was partnered with Sam and it was Frank and Leroy, there's no way I'm taking that shot. I'm keeping them all the way to the end, and I'm hoping that they catch an elimination that they may not be very good at, or they lose in a purge because they can't solve a puzzle. There's a lot of different ways. The rules switch up, which they often do. The game goes individual. Like we'll see how this plays out, but I don't think it was very smart.
Yeah. And Dario, let's talk about that. One of Leroy's best friends, no issue with you and Leroy going in to help him advance. And you confronted him, and he gets to the point where he's like, I'm going to break your jaw. I mean, he just sort of freaks out. What was happening in that moment? How long did that moment last compared to what we saw on TV? And what was that like for you?
It was about that long. I guess we went at it like a little bit back and forth, but we've all been in a situation, right? Potentially with a significant other or with a bully on the playground or whatever it is, right? Someone that's like a toddler that has taken a lollipop. If they get caught, they get very mad, right? So like say your significant other is kind of snooping around behind your back and you have definitive proof of that. They're going to get very defensive. They're going to try to turn it on you. They're going to say, oh, you don't trust me. This is a you thing. It's a you thing. In Dario's scenario, he resorted to violence because he has the IQ of a peanut. So he doesn't know how to articulate his smelly breath thoughts. And that's just how it kind of played out. I would also be mad if I got caught and I had terrible breath. So I don't blame him, but I didn't like him being that close to my face.
And he's not going to break your jaw. I mean, the if he tries, he's getting taken off the show. I mean, you don't actually feel threatened in that moment.
I absolutely don't feel threatened. And quick news flash, I would dog Dario in a fight. So I'm not worried because we're on TV and there's, security all over the place. And B, I would beat Dario down. I would beat the dog shit out of Dario's mouth. Okay. So I'm not concerned about him whatsoever. We're not on the same level in any sense of living on this earth. I'm not concerned about Dario.
And this is why we need you on the show because Leroy was being Leroy. We love Leroy on the show, but he was just sort of like over this in like 5 minutes. You had to sort of be offended on Leroy's behalf and poke that bear a little bit to get some reaction out of him at least.
I was so offended on Leroy's behalf. I was shocked that he cared so little about this. I think what happens if you play this game for long enough is you become callous and you turn into expecting the worst from people. Um, and then you just forgive them because, well, this just happened to me a million times. I don't forgive people. Sam will not be my friend again. Period. Like Dario will never be my friend. If you fuck me over in this game, that's why it's such an exception of me, like, kind of working with Josh and working with Tori after, like, she literally gives the answer to a puzzle in the final elimination to the guy she's been dating for 2 weeks instead of the person she's been playing the game with the whole time. I have had great benefit from forgiving people in this game. My forgiveness tokens have been passed out. I am out of them. I don't have any more. If you do something to me in this game, expect me to hold it against you forever.
And quick last question, bring me into the mindset a little bit of challengers because I was interested to see Stephen Adam, I mean, just kept getting voted in, voted in, voted in. They throw one vote Corey and Big T's way, and Corey acts like it's the most offensive thing in the world to hear his name after voting for them. Why could you possibly be so offended when you've repeatedly sent someone in?
Because most challengers are sick narcissists who don't think it's bad when they do the thing, but when it gets done to them, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. That's the truth. Now, a connection to that and something that could have shifted the game entirely, and I want people to think about this and what a good person Leroy is or what a bad player he is. You guys can make the decision for yourself. We had the numbers to switch the vote. I went around. I said, listen, here's what Dario's been caught doing. Obviously, Corey and Big T were the ones that told us, so they were in. Me and Leroy, Nani and Turbo, we were in. Adam and Steve were in because they didn't want to go against us. And Katie and Veronica would have done whatever Adam and Steve wanted. So that's 5 teams that could have all voted for Dario and Ashley. And Leroy said, don't do it.
Wow.
He said, that's still my friend. I'm not going to do to him what he is willing to do to me. We're not going to do it. We had the vote. We had the numbers. He canceled it.
Wow. Well, we're out of time, but thanks so much, Devin. Always fun to see you on the challenge, and we hope to see you again soon.
Appreciate that.
All right, so that was Devin, and now let's talk about what happened on Deal or No Deal Island this week. You're shaking your head.
I just can't believe Parvati. He said it was, what did he say? It was the eighth week in a row that
Safety,
she
yeah.
has been safe.
Yeah.
I mean, what is happening? What and how they just let Parvati and David go off alone in that challenge and take the top 2 suitcases. So of all the people that are safe in the end, it's Parvati and David, the two clearly biggest threats in the game.
Yeah.
It's just sort of wild to me to watch that play out.
And it's funny because they've all like expressed disdain for the family alliance, but they haven't come together in their own alliance. They had more people. If they had just come together and worked together, like this challenge, you vote people out at each stage. They were just voting out each other. Like
Yeah,
this is like Survivor One kind of dumbness before they were able to watch the show and be like, oh, we need an alliance to win the show. I don't know what's going on.
it's absolute amateur hour. And they are with two of the biggest Survivor power players ever. And like you cannot play this way with Parvati and David in the
Yeah.
it's sort of ridiculous to watch. Um, also interesting to see how Dixon is losing faith in Parvati, but not David. And he had that emotional moment with David where he said, like, I wish I had a dad like you. And he
Oh
made
yeah.
but in the previews for next week, he was like, I'm not loyal to David and Parvati or anyone. And I'm like, how much was he playing up? Like, does he know more than we know of like about what he's doing? Is he smart to be
Mhm.
playing that emotional card? And you know, maybe they are underestimating him, and maybe he's sort of this secret little villain.
I hope so. And then Philip, like he had Parvati wrapped around his little finger. Like those two would have been really, really good together. And then he just let his emotions take over. She made one comment that offended him, and all of a sudden, like he's done with her. Like, no, he needs to just pretend that they're good and then, badmouth her in private. But he's totally just turned on her now, which is so, so wild.
And maybe they didn't show it, but Dixon was annoyed because Parvati even considered um, having him go against the banker. I
Mhm.
feel like she should have explained to him a little bit because there were only two options.
Yeah,
And she should have explained to him, like, you're 50-50 either way, because if she wins, she is going to eliminate you.
right.
I don't know why she didn't just say that and present him with the option and just say, do you want me to put her up against the banker? I will. Or if you want to control your own destiny, I will allow that
Yeah.
as well. She could have put that decision on him and explained it better. And
I think
now he's bitter.
I think you're 100% right. Maybe she did and we didn't see it, but she should have definitely because I mean Lachelle gets up there and loses, but if she had won, Dixon would be going home right now and he would have had no chance to save himself.
Yeah. And now Dixon remains in the game skeptical of her because from what we saw, she did not explain herself. And if Lashana had returned, she would have been totally done with Parvati. I mean, she already kind of was. Everyone is. They just aren't doing anything about it.
Yeah. So she did, take a really good deal of 1,500,000, but her case had more, so she's eliminated. That's what the part of the show I don't really like. Like she made a ton of money, other than the 5 million Dixon made. I think this was the second highest amount, and yet she goes home. I think
If
there's like,
I was against the banker and I at any point had like higher odds on one side, if it was $10,000, I would make the deal. I would be like,
exactly.
screw you. I'm not making you money for
Right.
here. Like I would do whatever it took for me to stay in the game. And it gets down so far that they almost always have like a 50-50 shot.
50-50. And Joe even asked her at one point, he's like, what's more important, making money for the group or safety? She's like, they're both. I'm like, no, safety is more important. You can't win that money unless you're at the end. What are you talking about? They're both equal.
Yeah. The cast of this season is not very savvy.
It's like they've never watched a competition show before, except for I think Luke in episode one recognized Parvati immediately. No, no, he didn't. It was Dixon. Dixon recognized her. But the other people just don't know what's going on.
No.
Okay, so RuPaul's Drag Race. It's so funny because I totally forgot who went home and I had to look it up and it was Acacia Forgot. So I'm so sorry I forgot about you, Acacia, but it's in your name. It was bound to happen. What did you think of Acacia going home? It was her and Corey King in the bottom two.
It was her time. It was such a good episode, by the way. This Rusical of Wizard of Oz and all of these characters. I thought the actual performance was great. I don't think anyone was bad. I think Acacia was just, she took it too seriously. There was no personality or humor, and she closed the
Yeah.
show. And it was sweet, like it was nice, but it was like everyone else was sort of funny or campy,
Mhm.
and she played it very straightforward, and that's
Right.
what Adam Lambert really, he was the guest judge this week, and he really kind of honed in on that fact that she just didn't bring any real personality to it. Although I will, in her credit, because I haven't complimented Acacia much this season, I loved her triple double whatever wig parasol in the in the runway
Mhm.
challenge. I thought
Yeah.
Acacia killed the runway challenge, so congratulations on
Good.
that. And I actually liked her lip sync too. Like I thought it was
Mhm.
close between her and Corey. I think either one of them could have gone.
Yeah, unlike last week when the Snatch game had so many losers, the Rusical didn't. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's the way it's produced, like they do their vocals earlier and then they really practice the choreography. So by the time they get to the stage, like there's not going to be anyone that's really bad. So they're just kind of nitpicking the smallest details. I don't think Acacia Forgot would have gone home in any other season, but I mean, everyone else was just basically perfect, especially Sham Star, who won her second challenge.
It, she needed this. This was such a great week for Sam Star. We've always talked about how she's sort of one of the front runners, but she didn't have the personality. Her personality came out. Her sense of humor came out finally this week, and you need that to progress in in this contest. And I thought this was her best week just because of that. She sort of let loose a little bit more, and she always kills it on the runway. She's like this beauty pageant queen. But to see her do that shit, I mean, it wasn't the best impersonation I've ever seen, but it was very entertaining and it had humor and she was great.
And I love how I think it was Acacia forgot that kind of told her when they were in the round table deciding who would do what. She's like, Sam, this is something you need to do because it breaks you out of your comfort zone. And she listened to that and she won. And then Acacia went home. Womp womp.
Yeah.
And then what did you think of the fight between Susie Toot and was it Acacia?
Well, they wanted the same role. They both wanted to play Dorothy.
Right. Oh,
Um,
that's right. Yeah. And then Acacia got it. And but then Susie Toot got the Green Witch and she was in the top for that.
it's fascinating to see how this is turning because when this season started, Susie Toot was like this little bubbly personality that everyone thought was so funny and loved. And
Mhm.
she's like getting the villain edit now. I mean, she's
Mhm.
becoming sort of this devious person, like, I want to win. And
She's
it's
too cocky.
it's getting very catty. It was not what I expected from Susie Toot.
I know Susie was my early favorite, but now I think I've replaced her on my favorite listings with Sam and Anya, your girl Anya.
Anya is my favorite. She was so great. I didn't like when they criticized her for like trouble learning her steps. Like to me, it's like fine, that's rehearsal. But like what
Yeah.
matters is like you bring it on stage, and she killed it on stage. And she can sing, and she had probably the most complex choreography of anyone. So to like call her out for trouble learning the choreography, I thought was
Mhm.
a little bit much. I would have picked her to win this week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who I would have picked, but I when Sam Star was named the winner, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. So now we have three people that have won twice, Anya, Sam, and Susie. I mean, that's probably our final three.
I think so. I still also love Grandma.
Ariadne.
Grandma.
Oh, Grandma Lexi Love, yeah.
She's my other favorite.
I like Ariadne. I like Corey King. Corey King, I think you mentioned this last week, gets a ton of confessionals,
Yeah.
like way more than I think everyone else gets. I would like to see like the breakdown of who gets the confessionals per episode.
Yeah. He's the shadiest in the confessionals, so they like to go back to him,
Mm,
which is good quality, but yeah, he's consistently struggled and was sort of forgettable as the flying monkey.
yeah, womp womp. Okay, so moving on to the Masked Singer, it is Rat Pack night, and it's the Group A finals. So we're down to Ant, Coral, and Paparazzo. They all performed on the big stage. And Denton, who went home?
It was ants, unfortunately. Paparazzo won the first round. This was the Group A finals, so actually two advanced to what they're calling the Lucky Six. You know, this show changes every season. You never know what rules they're going to throw at you. So this year, suddenly, two advanced from Group A to the Lucky Six, and Paparazzo was the first voted through, and then there was a battle royale between Coral and Ant. I would have picked Ant in that battle, but the judges or panelists decided to go with Coral, and both were good. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like one was clearly better than the other, but that was just my preference. And then Anne went home, revealed herself as Danity Kane, singer Aubrey O'Day. So all of those clues, which we had guessed. I mean, our initial pick was Kesha, but then we did finally like take the hints and move on to Aubrey O'Day. And all of those hints about her being repressed and like criticized were all clear references to Diddy, who is out of
Mm.
jail now for all sorts of terrible things.
I'm surprised the judges didn't go with Ant because in the second episode, Jenny was actually crying because of Ant's performance and how she said it makes her think of her own bullies in life. And it was just such a moment. She said she'd only cried like once on the show before. So,
And Ken
um,
was very emotional too when he was talking about
yeah,
her. But I have, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
let's hear it.
While they were in the battle royale, Coral was like Ant sang first, and then as Coral was singing, Ant didn't even pay attention to her. She went down and started like holding hands and like greeting people in the audience. And I was like, okay, is she taking this in? Is she like thanking them all? Did she tell producers, I have to be out this week? I have
Mm,
a gig. Um, I just thought that was weird. I mean, maybe she was just being nice to the audience,
maybe.
but I thought it was a very, if in my conspiracy theorist
Yeah.
mind, that was my thought going through my head.
I think I can believe that because sometimes they have really famous people that are out right away, like Kevin Hart, um, Demi Lovato. They're only in one episode, and I'm like, that was probably in their contract. They just wanted to do one episode, get it done with, and go home.
And Demi Lovato was a very specific case because she wasn't actually even in the competition.
Right.
She would have done very well because she can actually really sing. Kevin can't sing. So he
Yeah.
probably would have said, but like Mickey Rourke, remember that year too? He was like
Yeah.
out right away.
And then what else were we going to mention?
That's really it. I mean, The Voice had their fourth set of blind auditions. So, I mean, we're gonna get more into that when, that competition really ramps up. We need these teams to get figured out. I mean, we can't keep talking about
Hmm.
all these blind auditions. We have to see who gets through, how the teams shake out, but it's gonna be an interesting season and with a totally different sort of dynamic between the coaches this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But we're not going to get into all the blind auditions.
Well, next week on Reality Derby, we're going to start getting into Survivor 48. I actually saw the episode early. I was in New York for the special premiere. Jeff Probst was there. 15 of the 18 contestants were there, and also old favorites like Sandra, Tony, Sari, Jam Jam, and so many more. And it was a really special night. And when the person got voted out, the person stood up and everyone started cheering their name. It was a really fun, memorable moment. And there was a moment in the episode when everybody was crying because something happened. So I loved the premiere. I can't wait for everyone to watch it and let us know in the comments what you think of Survivor 48.
And it's all ramping up to season 50. I feel bad for the cast of season 49. People are going to be like, just get this over with. Like,
I know.
give us 50 now.
Yeah, and that's going to be called Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. I don't like the title, but I like the concept. People at home, you can start voting at the CBS website for things like, do you want the season 50 people to have rice or not? Do you want there to be hidden idols or not? What colors do you want their buffs? Do you want there to be a Final Four fire making challenge? Do you want the reunion to be live in Los Angeles or on the island? So all of these different things you can vote for, and fans at home get to design the game, which is a really cool concept.
Am I the only one who prefers the Live in Los Angeles reunions? I mean, I get it's helpful for them to just do it right then and there, but
Yeah.
it's not as good, I don't think.
I love the Los Angeles ones because first of all, it's always so fun to see them all dressed up with makeup, and they're always a little bit heavier than they were on the island. It's just fun to see what they look like in real life, not covered in dirt and grime. And, having the audience there cheering on their favorites is always fun. And they stopped doing that because of COVID. And then I think, it's a money saving issue too. They just do it on the island, save all the thousands of dollars. But I think for 50, they should at least do it live.
I agree.
Okay, thanks everyone for watching Reality Derby. We will see you next time for even more.